All right, how you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm not in a suit, so it's good.
I'm not either,
Todd?
because neckties always cut the oxygen to the head, and that's nothing's good is going to come of that. So
Perfect.
You may have just discovered the real problem with Congress.
there you go. Let them all wear hoodies, because look what it's doing with Fetterman. He's actually, sort of coming around just a little bit, ever so slightly. Make them all wear hoodies. And
all right, we're going to start it off here, guys, with the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It just takes a little bit of people to get coming online with us. Obviously, we have our own North Dakota's lone representative in the House, Kelly Armstrong, also the NDGOP endorsed candidate for governor. Congressman, thank you for joining us tonight. And also, special guest, Mr. Todd, the radio god Mitchell. Todd, thanks for stepping in for Clayton. It's a pleasure, buddy.
I'll have you know, it's like 3 a.m. to the rest of the world for me right now. This is the middle of the night for people to get up at 3 a.m. So happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you for getting us on the radio every Friday, buddy. That's awesome.
Hey, absolutely.
Never forget it.
As soon as the Twins win the World Series and you guys can get some more time, then.
That's what I said. I piss everybody off, but I hope the Twins don't get in the playoffs so we can get back on for 45. But
not sure if Kelly knows. Chris Hatterbury, the Twins have had a long time thing at 8:15 on Friday mornings, so we had to break the news to the Guns and the 701 guys.
You're talking about my two favorite things in the world, which are guns and baseball. So I'm a little torn on that.
Well, we should have you on the edge of your seat every Friday from 8 to 9 on KFYR then.
I was 10 years old when the Mets won the World Series in 1986, so I've been a lifelong suffering Mets fan.
Oh, sorry to hear that. There's a cure for that. They make medicine for that.
It frees up a lot of time to hunt in October.
Both times the Twins won the World Series, I was living in the South, so that Twins-Braves World Series, I didn't have any friends for a while.
All right, baseball. We're going to put baseball on the back burner. I hate to disappoint you guys, but we got Kelly on. We're going to talk Second Amendment, some hunting, some shooting. Kelly, I'm even going to let you get into a little bit of bow hunting here later in the show. I mean, I'm a crossbow guy. I do have a lifetime tag for it. But we'll get into that. But so Kelly, like I said, Kelly's going to be running for governor, and first of all, the NRA endorsed you, Kelly, right? Did they endorse you yet, or when did the endorsements come out?
They've endorsed me in the past. We just filled all that stuff out. I think I probably will have the most colorful comment period of an NRA thing ever. I said, I would end with this. I said, I have told my entire staff in D.C. that if I leave Congress without getting glitter bombed by PETA, I will consider it a failure.
Nice.
I love that. So I did a little search here for you on Brave. NRA endorsement. Kelly Armstrong has received this, obviously not this yet, but I'm assuming they're going to get you, but has received the endorsement of the NRA Political Victory Fund, which is a political action committee of the NRA. I'm a lifetime NRA member. I've donated to the PVA many times. Armstrong has consistently voted in favor of gun rights legislation and has opposed efforts to restrict Second Amendment freedoms. According to NRA's congressional scorecard, Armstrong has a 93% voting record for gun rights issues, which is awesome. I mean, somebody's probably going, it should be 100%. But
I'm trying to figure out why it's not. It'd be interesting to see what they scored.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never seen you vote against any pro Second Amendment civil rights stuff. You support concealed carry, right? Reciprocity across state lines. Opposed, and then of course it says a opposition. Of course, like I said, Kelly, this is Brave. It's not actually from the NRA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean,
you got to figure statistically somebody's going to be in there trying to knock you down 7 points anyway. So
yeah, but it's a little different. So it's a little different too, though. I mean, and this isn't a knock on anybody else. A little bit of its circumstance. When I was in the state Senate, I chaired Judiciary and I was on Natural Resources, so we got all the gun bills. When I got to Congress, I was on Judiciary, and so we deal with all the gun legislation there. So walking into a new Democratic majority when they're trying to get rid of everything from assault weapons to all of those different things, You cited the Second Amendment at the beginning of this. The only thing you forget are the 2 commas, because if you go back and read the U.S. v. Heller case, the commas actually matter. So when they talk about the Second Amendment applying to a militia, the U.S. Supreme Court has actually said that's patently not true. So if you're an old legal writer like me and a gun enthusiast like me, you get, not only do you get your Second Amendment issue, but you actually recognize grammar matters once in a while.
Well, Todd was actually an English major, right? Todd, you impressed with your English skills?
I was not an English major. I did take advanced college writing and got an A+ in it somehow.
That's an English major to me.
How that happened, but as close as being an English major as I'm going to get.
I sucked at English. I'm not going to lie to you. English was a terrible subject for me, but so so since Kelly, we're on your NRA thing here, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go over your opponent stuff real quick here. So you're running against Trygrev Hammer. He's the Democrat, right?
Yeah.
And Tammy Miller, she's the other Republican in it. Like I said, Kelly's the endorsed candidate, NDGOP endorsed candidate. But so I looked on TammyMiller.com, and we all seen the shotgun commercial, I think. I mean, Joe Biden told you to buy a shotgun. She said all she said about the Second Amendment, double barrel. So she'll protect the Second Amendment. That's all it said on her website. She didn't say how. And I said, okay, well, that's pretty soft. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. I like a little more in depth or a little more explanation. Trygrev, I apologize if I'm not
Trigby.
What is
Trigby.
it? Okay, Trigby, I apologize.
I didn't know what it was either until we had him on. So he's at least willing to come on KFYR. So far, Tammy's completely ghosted.
Looked on Hammer.
By the way, he's running for Congress. Merrill Pepcorn's running for governor.
Oh, Peepcorn. Okay.
Pepcorn, right. Yeah.
Peepcorn? My bad. Wow. I don't know. That's what it looks like to me. Pepcorn. Okay.
We can do it after June 12th, after we're through the primary, hopefully. So.
Okay. So have you looked at anything on Merrill's 2A stance? Because I remember him before looking at state stuff and.
I just, like I was saying earlier, I mean, everybody, it's North Dakota. We have a great legislature. I carried constitutional carry on the floor, but I mean, we've been in every single one of these fights, and we're in fights that don't even make the headlines, right? We work on the suppressor stuff. We had a hearing about a month ago on making sure people with PO boxes or rural routes could buy a gun. Even when the Democrats bring their crazy bills, I try and explain to them how actual farming and ranching works, right? We don't go to gun ranges. We take a box and get a Sharpie marker and go run it out in a stubble field 150 miles away. And so, I mean, we've just been on the front lines of all of this stuff. We've been adamant about everything from red flag laws to juvenile court records, importing of ammunition during COVID, because they really were trying to actually starve off and make ammo more expensive, because that gets less kids involved in this stuff. So it's not just the high profile ones like assault weapons bans or waiting periods or red flag laws. We try being the ones that I think are more insidious, more nefarious, because they actually could do some things. The bipartisan bill that passed almost got all trap clubs and archery programs banned from schools. Trap is the fastest growing sport in North Dakota. What a great way for people who maybe aren't fast or maybe don't want to play soccer to get engaged and involved in an activity that also, by the way, if you live in North Dakota, is a lifelong skill that you can enjoy, whether it's grouse hunting, pheasant hunting, duck hunting, or just going out and shooting clays. It's very different. I mean, I loved wrestling in high school, but I haven't used wrestling a lot since I graduated from high school. I've learned.
Wait a minute, you've been in Congress? You haven't used that in Congress at all?
No,
I figure there'd be one time.
I've used my shotgun every opportunity I get. So.
Well, I always say that too. I took gym class, and when we were in high school, we had gym class, and they made us do a golf segment or whatever. And I'm like, I'm never, I've golfed, but I've never got into it. But I don't see why they couldn't do a hunter safety thing or a gun safety thing in there, because it's like you said, Kelly, it's a life skill, right?
Yeah, and it's so my son is probably a better shot at 14 than I was at 18. I did once when COVID originally hit. One of the things about gun safety and pheasant hunting is the actual shooting at the pheasant isn't the dangerous part. It's the getting in and out of the car, crossing the fence, doing all of that. So he was very lucky. COVID absolutely sucked for everybody. But for the first 2 weeks, I spent a lot of time with my son in snow goose blinds, taking conference calls from DC while we're waiting, putting them on mute, because that's a perfect scenario for, at that time, an 11, 12-year-old kid. He had the Franke, I like that, but only one shell. I didn't even carry a gun, and he got used to just shooting without any of the other stuff around, and it's really paid off because he can shoot the lights out with a shotgun, man.
That's awesome. What does he shoot then for a shotgun?
So I bought my daughter a Benelli Youth 20 gauge, and she's actually a great shot. She just is also a 16-year-old and isn't really into it anymore. So he has now stole her 16-year-old 20 gauge. But I think he'll upgrade this year. He's as big as me now, so the youth gun is too small. So I don't know what will get him yet. He'll probably use my Browning Auto 516 this fall.
Perfect.
So I bought some of these Boss shells so you can shoot them they actually kill well for upland, and then he can also use them for waterfowl or pheasants. So.
Well, on shameless plug here, High School Trap, two of our sponsors, Double H Guns and Lauer Auto, actually support High School Trap financially. So way to go on that one. Let's tell you what, I'm gonna hit a few of these comments here, you guys, and we're gonna go. Good, Josie Milbrandt, good evening, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. Dan Brown, good evening, guys. You probably know Dan from some NRA banquets.
So you want to talk about NRA? Friends of the NRA and the NRA banquet in Dickinson, North Dakota, and Dan Brown, for as long as I've known him, has been one of the single best volunteers of that organization, and does just a really, really great job. So it's cool to see him on.
Yep, and former law enforcement guy, and Dan is quite handy with the pistol, which I found out last year at Second Amendment Day. Kelsey Glauser, let's go! He's ready for it, man. Paul Odegaard.
I'd like to know how Kelsey managed to get a hold of my college transcripts there. I didn't realize he had my actual major, because most people don't know that. You can read the comments. I'm not going to go into that.
You're way ahead of me on that one.
That was supposed to have been a secret, but I guess it's out now.
Dan got me there too. Isn't Hammer running for Congress? Yeah, I freaking blew that one, didn't I? But you know what? That's how it goes. I'm not the radio god like Todd. I'm just an internet dude.
Hey, this is your show. I'm not going to correct the host so far,
All right, Braxton Ballard. What's up, Jamie? Hey, Brax. Thanks for watching the show, buddy. Appreciate you. We were just talking before the show to Kelly about your graduation coming up, buddy. It's going to be awesome. So. All right, Kelly, I'm going to get into just a question for you here. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I got to ask it to you. So if you're elected, I know you're going to uphold the Second Amendment, but I'm looking for a governor who's actually going to not just uphold it, but promote the Second Amendment rights, because I think it needs to be promoted.
I do it every day now. I've done it long before I was in politics. I always tell people we give away three stickers out of my office: oil, 100% organic energy, coal guns freedom, and hunt with your kids, not for your kids. So
I like it.
This is like legitimately part of my life, will be part of my life long after I'm out of politics. It has been before. Some of my best days this fall were just hunting with my son and my dad. I'm not as mad at pheasants as I used to be, but I sure do enjoy being out there with 3-generation Armstrongs in Southwest North Dakota, and just every day on election day since I ran for Congress. You can't fix election day is over, right? Everything you did prior to election day is either going to come and go, but every single day during election day, just my dad and I go pheasant hunting. And the reason is no matter what happens on an election day, if you're hunting with your dad in Southwest North Dakota, it can never be a bad day. So every day since I ran for Congress in 2018, on election day, my dad and I just go hunting by ourselves. Because when you have friends and family and all of this stuff, you forget how few times you actually just get to hunt with my dad, who's my best hunting buddy in the world.
Yeah. Yep, and I agree. I go back to the ranch, and my dad and I, now it's just, we don't hunt birds much, but we drive around. We got a lot of beavers on the land and stuff like that, and coyotes. We drive around the Ranger, and he's got a Ranger. I'm a Kawasaki guy. I think Kawasaki's are better, but that's just me. But
I have the Kinetics, so it all just depends. It's like
they're all
Ford,
awesome.
Chevy. It's like Ford, Chevy, Dodge.
Yeah.
It's all preference.
Man, I like driving them all. They're awesome. But Todd, you ever get out and do any hunting or not?
Long story, but no. And it's a story for another time. But the bottom, inner city Minneapolis, born and bred, right? I mean, they play with guns now, but for a whole different context. It's definitely defense, but that doesn't mean I haven't been a huge supporter, and I've always been confused because for generations you taught how to disassemble, reassemble, clean everything in school. You brought one. It was in your locker back in the day, at the very least in the trunk of your car, and it wasn't a big deal, and wasn't the world a better place in many respects back then. So, at the risk of sounding like, well, I'm Second Amendment now because I'm on this show right now, so of course I'm Second Amendment. No, it's been a lifelong thing. It's just there's a big family history, two family history things going on. One of whom, the last farmer on my family tree, did time because on Christmas Day he shot somebody trying to steal a chicken.
Oh, let's not get into the chickens.
Way to go, Iowa. Those are the Iowa relatives we don't talk about much anymore.
Well, they got a good basketball player come out of there, but
true that. So, but no, I mean, I've always felt that. Wait a minute, it's a part of our history that made us who we are. Why in the world are we trying to sweep that under the rug now and say, oh no, we can't have that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it says, it's a civil right. I always say it's a civil right. It's not just, the Democrats love the First Amendment. Well, they say they do until it doesn't go what they want, but it's a civil right.
They like the First Amendment a lot less than they used to.
Yeah. If you say what their message is, then they love it. But yeah, it only applies if you're on their talking points.
So, Kelly, we got a comment right here for you. Ask him what his position is on two-ear rights during a state of emergency.
So I'll tell a quick story. So I was doing radio with Scott Hennon. This is maybe, I don't know, whenever the protests were happening in Fargo. And so I didn't know any of this, but I was doing it. And apparently the mayor who was on before me, and they were talking about suspending Second Amendment rights during the protests. And I'm like, well, you can't do that. And they're like, why? I go, we wrote a law that says you can't. We passed it in North Dakota. And so I didn't know it was happening. They asked me about it on the radio and I responded. And so the mayor's office in Fargo called my state director and he's like, hey, we'd appreciate it if you're going to throw us under the bus on the radio, that you give us a heads up. And I'm like, Mayor, I apologize. I didn't know you were doing that, but and our lawyer says you can. I go, your lawyer's wrong. We legitimately wrote the bill that says you cannot do that. Civil rights only matter in emergencies. Nobody cares about your right to privacy on a random Tuesday. Nobody cares about your First Amendment right when you're having a conversation on a podcast. So if civil rights don't matter at the worst possible times, then they don't matter at all. And they also matter for everybody, by the way. It's the good. If you are pro First Amendment, you're also pro speech you disagree with, right? So civil rights have to matter the most during emergencies, and we have good law on that in North Dakota, and we should keep it exactly the way it is.
Yeah, and I remember.
Isn't that why it was? I was gonna say, isn't that why it was written that way in the first place? To be able to defend yourself. That's the whole point.
Yeah, and of course, when COVID is going on, President Trump, they wanted to suspend it, and he said, "No, we're not. We're going to open." Remember, they tried to close. They wanted to close all the gun shops down because that was a bad idea, and he said, "No, you got to open that up. We got people rioting and going in these businesses and doing their thing, and which is great." Which, tell you what, we're going to get in this. We're going to go our first break here. It's going to be about 2 minutes. We're going to come back, Kelly, and I got a question for you on suppressors. So hang in there, guys. We'll be right back.
That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. You don't scare me.
Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck, Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake. Lauer Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair. 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Experience the exhilaration of power in your hands at Bloodline Kinetics. Why Cerakote? Simply, it aids in firearm preservation while also giving your piece a unique look. Barrel threading, NFA laser engraving, bolt handle threading, mount, level, and bore, sight scope chamber, rebarreling, and much more. Bloodline Kinetics is meant to reflect a long American lineage in gun ownership, who stand for the Second Amendment rights, Bloodline, and the science behind gun accuracy, Kinetics. To some, it's just a constitutional right that can go away. To us, it's in our American bloodline, and we believe it should stay that way. Here at Bloodline Kinetics, we understand that hunters, sportsmen, women, and gun owners should have a quality firearm. Stop and see us at 2008 Morrison Avenue 2 in Bismarck, North Dakota, 58504, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 701-390-7997. Visit our website, bloodlinekinetics.com.
All right, so I apologize. Them commercials are super loud. Clay hasn't figured that out yet. We're going to fix that in the future, but
gotta pay the bills, man. Pay the bills.
Yeah.
Come on now. Let me teach you the broadcasting. You're supposed to have the commercials plenty loud so everybody hears them, everybody acts on them.
Yeah,
so.
They are, man. I had to turn that out. It damn near blew me out of my headset there.
I wouldn't think your sponsors would want you to have them nice and quiet so people don't hear them.
Well, when somebody runs to the bathroom, if they got the speaker, they can still hear it. So
see, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, hey guys, if you go do business with our sponsors, make sure and tell them you heard it on Guns in the 701 or 701 Nation or any of our videos, because it makes it a lot easier to do this kind of stuff with your sponsor. So appreciate those guys and please support them. So, okay, Leon Francis, he's in there with Kelsey Glauser right now. He says right on. He's loving it. Kelsey loves that axe pose there. And we were at the Prairie Dog tournament last year.
Well, now I know how Kelsey found out my secret because I know Leon knew it.
Yeah.
But
all right. So, Kelly, we were talking, you mentioned suppressors. So what are your thoughts about suppressor ownership and their use in hunting? I know Texas, it's almost looks like it might actually get overturned, where if a suppressor is made in Texas, you don't have to pay the NFA their $200 blood money, and as long as you use it in state lines. And I think you can maybe answer this. There is a suppressor manufacturer in Dickinson, I do believe.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think there's any reason to get the federal firearm stamp for a suppressor. I think the vast majority of the policy based on suppressors is based on people who have only watched movies.
Right. 100%.
They are.
You mean life isn't like that?
At a practical level, I heard they're actually turning around pretty quick right now. I've got 5 of them, and the amount of I screwed this up on the front end, so I never did the trust. So I buy them individually. I got to figure out and go how to fix that. But the amount of time and difference that happens on those things, and like I think one time I waited 15 months, the other time I got it in 4.5. I use Andrew Cordenoy in Dickinson. He's always been great with me. But it's just it's the definition of silly policy based on people who don't actually understand what these work like. You know, when my son's sighting in his rifle with the suppressor, he's still wearing ears because you're still dealing with that. So
it's and you know, there is a manufacturer of them in Dickinson, right? I think because our newest sponsor, Bloodline Kinetics, told me that. And to just real quick on your question about getting them back, I just got 2 of them, and I went into Mandan Sporting Goods on a Friday afternoon. I bought them, and by Tuesday morning, I went in and picked them both up. I'm not saying everybody's that quick now, but doing it electronically is way faster, which blows my mind that Joe Biden's ATF, one thing they got right, because everything else they've been pretty crappy on.
Well, and I mean, this is the whole thing, right? I mean, if you were talking about crime and guns, what you're talking about is cheap handguns. Like, that's what you're talking about. That's what commits the vast majority of crime.
Yeah,
I mean,
handguns.
Like, it doesn't, I mean, it's, and talking about somebody with a 6.5 PRC bolt action rifle with a can on it. Like, I don't know statistically how many crimes that weapon has committed, but I bet it's statistically zero.
For sure. Well, I always tell people now, Alec Baldwin's gun has killed more than my entire safe full of our assault weapons.
Oh, boy.
We had a hearing where they were talking about the reason you don't shoot deer with a 223 is because it blows deer up. Like, I mean, the fascinating, first of all, like, don't ever explain to people about A-tips or AccuBonds or full metal jackets or any of that stuff. I'm like, the reason you don't hunt deer with 223s is because if you're hunting a big deer, it's a light round.
Yeah, and I always said within 200 rounds of 220, I mean, my buddy has shot, my dad, big mule deer with the 220. Use the right bullet, the right range. Yeah, if it's out there at 350, that's stupid. Don't do that. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up hunting with a 243. It was only when we were really deep down by the park and you're in some of those big draws where if something goes, I mean, and then I was hunting, the old school 30-06 forever, so.
Yep. Yeah, which is far more powerful than any 223, which the leftists will tell you will just, pretty much blow the turret off a tank with one round, right?
Yeah, but if you hold up a Woodstock Mini 14, they'll be like, that gun's fine.
Yeah, well, they'll watch the A-team.
You hold up an AR-15 and they're like, that gun should be banned. I'm like, it's legitimately the same gun.
Yeah. Dan Brown says he thinks
Hollywood
suppressor in Dickinson, and Josie Milbrand says he got his homemade suppressor stamp in 38 days. I think it's called a Form 1. Yeah. I like Josie's homemade thing there, but I think it's called a Form 1 to do your own. My cousin's done it before, so I haven't. I'm not a machinist. Josie is quite a handy guy, and so is my cousin. He works at one of the mines.
Ask Josie if they ask. Well, I could ask. He's listening. Yeah. Do they zero? That's the one nice thing. The last can I bought, my gun stays on 0. Everyone I've had before, you got to resight in after you. So that's nice when you travel a lot and you don't have, I don't run, I just shoot a 6.5, so I don't ever run a muzzle brake, but I want to be able to put the can on and off without having to resight my gun in if at all possible.
Right. So I hit this a little last week on the 701Nation, but I've noticed that a direct thread is a lot less apt to shift your zero. And more accurate, I think, on my direct thread cans instead of the QDs. They seem like they're right on the money. I can screw them off and screw back on, and that thing will still be punching the center out.
Yeah, my gun's, it's identical with and without the can on, which is really helpful.
So I see we got a sniper in the comments here, which I'm going to get to in a second. It's a spammer, but anyway, yeah. So here, one of the things I was going to ask you, Kelly, once you're elected, I've always wanted to have like an official North Dakota state rifle. I know a lot of states have done this, and I've brought this up to my representative a few times in my district, and they were kind of, laughed it off. Why would you want to do that? Because I think it'd be cool and just tweak leftists. So, what's your thoughts on that?
So I'm left-handed. So if you want a state rifle, it's either going to be a Henry lever action or a Ruger number 1. That way, I'm
fine with that.
Everybody into left-handed stuff, but I want something that's ambidextrous. We always get picked on and trying to deal with that stuff. So I'm all in for that.
I'm totally fine. I don't care if it's left-handed or not. I just think we need a state rifle, or just for that matter, a state gun. But honestly, I would say like an 870 pump probably, or like just like a Remington 700 bolt. Not my favorite, but as far as popularity.
Yeah, they're iconic. Jack O'Connor's 270 Remington 700s probably killed everything in the world. It's my favorite gun I own is a Ruger number 1 270 with the full wood stock all the way down the barrel. And I found a 25th anniversary Weaver fixed 4-power scope that I put on it. and it's my favorite gun in the world. And it's just a really cool little, let's go shoot a whitetail doe, perfect little gun, meat and potatoes, everything works great. And I think sometimes, we like it, right? Because we like all this stuff, but a $5,000 rifle doesn't account for a terrible trigger pull.
Oh, that's one of the biggest things you can do to improve your rifle's accuracy too, is get that nice trigger in there. 100%. I'm way on board with that on you. Todd, I know Todd's not a gun guy, but we actually did a gun test for you, right, Todd? You and the wife there?
I appreciate guns, but yeah, and matter of fact, my wife and I did, Josette invited us to a thing at her old place where we got to try 6 of them. And all I know is they tell me I hit the target pretty well, but of course, as I go back, my hands are between me and the target. So I don't know what in the world I'm doing. But all I got out of that last conversation is Kelly, in fact, leans left. I did not know that.
Oh, see, we got him now. We got him.
We'll find out if there was a spy on this call. Well, I listened to what they're saying, and Kelly actually leans left. Did they try to teach you to be right-handed when you were a kid?
They didn't, but I have a really good friend who has been hunting with me since he was 16 years old, and he just had a kid. And I saw him a week ago in Dickinson, and I said, "How's it going?" He said, "It's great. We've tied his right hand behind his back. We need him to be left-handed." He's like, "Your hand-me-downs are not a terrible place to be in the hunting world." And so I just started laughing.
Well, I got a message. Somebody says Sharps or a Winchester lever action, both iconic, and pretty sure they were used by most of the settlers in this area, especially the Buffalo. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt used. I'd be down with like a Teddy Roosevelt North Dakota edition official rifle, right?
Yeah, I've got a Teddy Roosevelt National Park 4570 hanging in my office out here. It's I just was down. I was at my. I grew up in Medora. I grew up chasing speed goats and mule deer around with a stick and a string, and so that gun's hanging on my wall in my office in DC.
Awesome, man. That's perfect in DC. Even you can get a lever action.
Wow.
You can. I have all my concealed out here. It's a pain in the butt, but in case anybody hasn't noticed, this town hasn't handled COVID very well.
Yeah, well, I noticed that crime isn't really, with all their gun laws there, it hasn't really stopped that from happening. What congressperson who got carjacked there, right? Henry Cuellar or somebody did?
Henry Cuellar got.
A Democrat.
But it's happening every day out here. And so we were talking about it yesterday. I was talking to a couple other members, and I said, be careful about making this about you. Like, that's not the point. But one of the coolest things about DC, which also got shut down during COVID, is once you get here and you check through, like, you have freedom of movement in the nation's capital. Like, that's unique. That doesn't happen everywhere. Like, if you are in the tour of the Capitol while we're voting, you're walking by senators and congressmen and all of that. And that full immersion with your constituents, the right to petition your member of Congress for grievances also is in the Constitution. And it's really, really important. And if you have a city that is like so dangerous, people are worried about coming here, that goes away as well too.
Yeah, so if you were governor, let's just say the same scenario happened, what would be your, just to get out, I don't want to get too far away from the gun thing, but what would you do if, let's say, all right, so, and Biden was reelected, God forbid, and said, all right, I want all these states shut down, everybody locked down?
No.
Perfect.
But there's other things, right? Like the CDC was buying data to see if people were going to church during quarantine. Like the nefariousness of where this stuff goes, they were censoring true information off the internet. Like, it's really important that we continue to talk about. Some of it you do want to give, to your local control and stuff. And I believe in local control, particularly for schools. And you can talk about school safety, right? How you protect a school in Mott, North Dakota, that is legitimately an old brick fortress, versus how you protect a new school in Cheyenne. More importantly, the parents in those communities, in those school districts, should have a say in how those things are done. But the short answer is no, go away. We'll figure out how to deal with this.
So would you be in favor of if teachers wanted to be armed and trained and to let them do it? I'm not saying force any teachers to do it or school. I think teachers and school staff, whoever want to get trained, and by all means, if you want to go through the local law enforcement training course, do it, because I mean, I've certainly, you know, the school resource officer is a great thing, but they can't be everywhere at all times. And if you don't know who's got the gun, I just think that's our best defense.
I'm very
Kelly.
much in favor of the state not prohibiting that from happening.
Yeah.
But again, and even if the decision is not one I like, I think those are decisions that absolutely should be made with the parents and the school board and the district in which they're at. I would say this, and I'm not saying it's a mandate, but I mean, shooting a shotgun you learn how to do. Shooting a pistol is a perishable skill. Like, if you don't shoot a pistol for a while,
oh, for sure,
like all of those different things. I always used to say, like, when you go do the shooting test for when you used to do your conceal,
yeah.
What they do is they should send you and your wife out. You should have a bottle of wine. You should come home, and then your shooting instructor should sneak into your house at 2:30 a.m., bang a pot and pan above your head, make you run around the house twice, and then see if you can hit it. Because that's what your heart rate is going to do if you are not used to those things. And muscle memory matters. That doesn't mean anybody shouldn't be allowed to carry. They absolutely should. I carry in North Dakota. I carry in D.C. I just think, like, when I talk to young staffers out here, my answer is you have every right to do it. You have every right to get it. But you also have a responsibility to know how to use it. And that is a personal responsibility. I'm not telling you that as a member of Congress. I'm telling you that as somebody who is your friend and who has done this stuff. If you're going to do it, then learn how to do it right. And whether that's inside the waistband, whether it's in your purse with a .380 revolver, however you choose to protect yourself, you also have a response. I mean, because again, most of the staffers out here, doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, come from about 100 miles out of here. It's really cool to talk about owning a gun, but if you haven't grown up shooting guns, you better go and learn how it operates. And
yeah,
you know, well, I don't ever want to use it. I just want to pull it out. I see you're already wrong, because you don't pull out your gun unless you're going to use it. Like, all of these things exist in a real world setting and not what you see on TV or Netflix or Amazon.
See, Todd, that you just heard the congressman say that's what you need to get your butt out there on 2A day, man. Let's run about 500 rounds.
Bring it.
Plus, there's a lot of things that stink to practice at. Shooting guns isn't one of them. It's
right.
Fun.
even when it's not that fun, man. It's like, oh, you were talking about shooting steel before we came on. If you even shooting at steel, if you're not shooting the center, you're like, well, I'm pretty sure that stopped him, right? But yeah, you're right, 100% right about pistols, though. I mean, obviously you're a shooter because you know if you don't practice with a pistol, they like the movies. I always like to get people and take them out with a pistol. Here, shoot that, and they're like, wow, I can't hit nothing. I'm like, yeah, this ain't the movies, man. You got to, especially like you said, you got to practice with pistols. And if you got a carry gun with that 3.5-inch barrel, even from a 3.5 to like a full-size 5-inch barrel, world of difference.
Yeah, I have a Springfield 9mm 1911, and that gun is so much fun to shoot. And then, I mean, I carry a SIG P365.
Awesome.
But I mean, they're all 9s and whatever. But I mean, it's a lot more fun to shoot the heavy 1911 than it is to shoot the subcompact that you carry around.
Yeah. You try carrying that around all the time, though.
But that's not even the best pistol story. Brad and Braxton are on here. We went fly fishing and caribou hunting with them up in Alaska in August. And I had a buddy who was at the same place right before me and lives in Leeds. And he asked me if I had a bear pistol. And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, you're going to be here for a farmer's town hall. And so, we conducted a temporary transfer of a 454 Casull with like a 3-inch barrel. And so I took it. And I went home and I shot 2 boxes of ammo out of it. And he called me and he's like, how'd it go? I said, it's going to be perfect for bear hunting. He's like, what do you mean? I go, if a bear comes at me, I'll shoot it once, knock myself out with the recoil, and I won't kill
I actually shot that in a rifle even, and it sucks even in a rifle in a lever action. It's still that super recoil. Yeah. But yeah, well, if you don't, and even if it knocks you out, the noise of that sucker will probably scare the bear off anyways, won't it?
Yeah, well, I've always said with bear hunting, it's a little different when it's your kid, but I always said the best bear defenses have somebody slower than you next to you.
Yeah,
and
right.
That was always me.
Yeah.
Oh, Todd.
You just have to outrun your buddy.
Don't go bear hunting then, Todd. If you're not, don't do it, man.
Now I know why you guys keep asking me to go hunting with you. Now I get it.
I just wanted to go shooting. If anything comes around that's going to eat you up at 2A day, I guarantee you it won't get too close. Everybody will be like, all right, we got us a real target. All right, I tell you what, guys, we're going to hit our second ad. This is a long one here. It's going to go, I want to say, about 4 minutes. We got to do all of our sponsors on this one, which is awesome. And we're going to come back. And Kelly, I got a good question about firearms and ammunition companies here in North Dakota.
Perfect.
And why the heck we haven't had more of them coming in here. So that's what I'm going to ask when we come back. Todd, hang in there. We'll be right back, you guys.
That's a war face. Now let me see your war face. You don't scare me.
Lauer Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck, Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake.
Make no mistake.
Lauer Auto is your pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro Second Amendment, pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Experience the exhilaration of power in your hands at Bloodline Kinetics. Why Cerakote? Simply, it aids in firearm preservation while also giving your piece a unique look. Barrel threading, NFA laser engraving, bolt handle threading, mount, level, and bore, sight scope chamber, rebarreling, and much more. Bloodline Kinetics is meant to reflect a long American lineage in gun ownership, who stand for the Second Amendment rights, Bloodline, and the science behind gun accuracy. Kinetics. To some, it's just a constitutional right that can go away. To us, it's in our American bloodline, and we believe it should stay that way. Here at Bloodline Kinetics, we understand that hunters, sportsmen, women, and gun owners should have a quality firearm. Stop and see us at 2008 Morrison Avenue 2 in Bismarck, North Dakota, 58504, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 701-390-7997. Visit our website, bloodlinekinetics.com.
Ever tried catching a fish with your bare hands or hunting a deer with a stick? Don't be that guy. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we've got all the hunting and camping gear you need. We're your one-stop shop for outdoor adventure.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Check us out at mandansportinggoods.com, or better yet, stop in to 210 East Main Street, Mandan, North Dakota. Mandan Sporting Goods, where the outdoors meets functionality. Store hours, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Closed Sunday. Take up arms at Mandan Sporting Goods. Your adventure starts here.
Discover the world of firearms at Bismarck's Double H Gun Shop. With a wide range of products from handguns to rifles, we cater to all your shooting needs. We are your local gun experts. Not only do we sell firearms, reloading supplies, targets, and whatever your heart desires, but we also have a ton of knowledge and answers.
We shoot, we hunt, we compete, we reload.
It's been the Howard's way since 1976, and we ain't fixing to change anything. Visit our website at hhgunshop.com to browse our inventory. Double H Gun Shop, Bismarck's best new and used firearm reloading supply, gunsmithing, and sporting goods store. Double H Guns.
Double H Guns.
1021 South Washington Street, Bismarck, North Dakota. Call 701-223-4888.
All right, guys, we're back. Again, feel free, hey, support our sponsors. You go in there, you do business with them, tell them you appreciate that they support Guns in the 701. Without them, we're not gonna be able to do this. So, Kelly, how much time we got with you, buddy?
We can keep going. We're good.
All right, awesome. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy guy, but I said an hour, but I got a lot of questions for you here yet. And so yeah, Josh's shots ammunition, they load shot shells, just opened in North Dakota. Yeah, I did. I talked to the guy. Well, I didn't talk to him, but I was emailing back and forth with him. I can't remember his name, but I don't know. He's going to come on. Never did. Maybe he got busy. I don't know. But yeah, they're a local company. Looks like they got good prices on shotgun shells, and we checked it out. Looked pretty competitive. But so anyway.
Rome Firearms is in Grand Forks. I've got one of their 308 platforms, which is great. I bought some waterfall shells from a guy in Bismarck who, instead of sending to me online, delivered to my house. But it's, whenever you can find that stuff, it's always better.
Right. So here's my question to you before we went to break. Why does North Dakota, and I've asked this to, Senator Hoeven, Senator Kramer, and, when Hoeven was governor, and I don't think I asked Doug Burgum, but why can't we get ammo or gun companies to move here? They're leaving all these blue states because of their anti-Second Amendment views. South Dakota's getting them. Wyoming's getting them. I mean, Weatherby moved to Wyoming. Stag Arms moved to Wyoming. Magpul Drug Up moved to Wyoming. North Dakota's not getting. I mean, we're getting some custom-made companies. Actually, it's like we got sponsors on our show that do it. There's some in Dickinson. Why can't we get somebody, one of the big manufacturers to come up here and make ammo? I mean, what do you think you could do as governor to get them up here?
I mean, I don't know. Well, one, we have 50,000 open jobs in North Dakota right now. Workforce would be part of it. So I've talked to the guys at Hornady, and I just met with the guys at Winchester. They were out here doing some Second Amendment promotion and stuff like that. The bigger guys are going to do what they do, but you can have well, I'm trying to think. Montana Rifle Company. I mean, some of those guys, we should make it more attractive. But I also say this, and I think just talking to people who do this stuff, North Dakota is just such a great. We might not be the best at everything, but we're the best mixed bag in the country. Like, if you want to shoot pheasants, grouse, partridge, waterfall, light geese, dark geese, pronghorn, mule deer, whitetail, coyotes, prairie dogs. And I mean, so some of it is we like being the best kept secret because we like having this stuff, but also it's just, that manufacturing stuff is difficult to do and it's difficult to set up. And I don't know particularly why they don't do it, but I'm completely comfortable getting more of the little custom things out here too, because then you can actually offer that kind of service that they offer that we've come to expect in North Dakota anyway.
Well, Josie's got a comment. He says, we have lots of gun companies, need local support depending on what you want. And it can be, Josie, like I said, Bloodline Kinetics, a custom gun maker for us. We just got on board. Jake's actually working on, Clay and I should have our guns here shortly. He's building them up for us. But I was talking, like Kelly just said, he talked to Winchester, ammo companies. I mean, we don't have any major like ammunition companies. I just don't understand why they'd stay in these states. But I mean, hey, once you're governor, I mean, I'd love to see you look into something like that.
I would absolutely love to recruit any of them if it makes sense to do. I mean, the manufacturing stuff is, a lot of reasons they stay is because rebuilding that entire thing.
Oh, it'd be brutal. Yeah.
And dealing with that stuff. And I mean, but like the Ithaca company isn't in New York anymore. I like it. It was right next to Cornell, and they're going to chase them out eventually. That's one of the things Congress really has to make sure and do, and we keep talking about it, is the liability shield at the federal level, because then you could really end up. One of the problems for them and why being in one state versus another doesn't matter is the vast majority of this stuff, civilly at least, ends up in federal court. So it doesn't matter if you're in Pennsylvania or New York. The people who are coming after you are going to try and sue you in federal court. So it doesn't particularly matter where you're based.
So what do you think you could do? Like Josie's talking about, and I was just talking about our sponsor. What could you do maybe to help local gun companies or suppressor? Dan said we got the suppressor company out there in Dickinson, and I know there's rifle companies out there as well. So, I mean, what do you think?
So I think this generally overall goes to a lot. I mean, this is a bigger, broader conversation when you've got a state bank and you've got a state investment fund and a legacy fund. I think the first thing you need to do, regardless of one of the first things you'll hear about North Dakota small business comparatively to anywhere else in the country is lack of access to capital.
Okay.
And I mean, way back when I first started, angel funds are still a thing, but they were the big things at the time. But I'm going to just tell you guys, if you are doing this process with commerce money, with whatever, and you're providing it, it has to be an open, transparent process, because the last thing anybody on this call, even if it's one of your buddies, wants to think that the people in government are giving money to their buddies or their friends or whatever. So before you start doing all of that, one, you got to set your risk levels. because if you're really truly going to invest in entrepreneurs and front end of stuff, you're going to fail. I mean, those businesses fail. They fail whether they get private investment, public investment, any of that. And if you're only going to give money to companies that have already made it, well, then you're really just patting yourself on the back for doing something that was probably going to happen anyway. So the easiest way I can tell that to everybody listening right now is make sure that everybody understands that they get everybody who applies for this stuff, if we're doing with those state programs, is going to get a fair and transparent shake.
Yep.
And then, I mean, the other answer too, which is a congressional issue as much as is a state issue, but we can do it at the state level too. One of the weird things I've figured out in DC that I knew a little bit in the oil business when I grew up in Western North Dakota, but really learned out here, there's this like trifecta of big business, big tech, and big government that isn't particularly interested in small business. Small businesses don't just compete. Small businesses get hurt significantly more by regulation than big business. Big business is okay with regulation because they'll just hire 9 more compliance officers. And what it costs them in compliance, they'll make up for in market share because they just shut down 5 of the small businesses. So dealing with the regulatory regime and making sure that it actually is reactive to small business is really important.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just thinking, like maybe, a North Dakota thing just to promote in-state businesses, support this. And it's like you said, North Dakota, a big pro-Second Amendment state. I mean, I even know plenty of Democrats who own guns, even though they vote against their rights every election cycle, but whatever.
Have you not gotten them to come around? Do they not realize what they're doing when they do that?
Yeah, they don't, Todd. I don't think they do really, because you ask them and they're like, "Oh man, that ain't a thing." I know people who moved back here from Vegas and had a neighbor. They moved across the street from us, and they don't live anymore now. Great people, but you know what? Oh, we moved back here to. You can't raise a family in Vegas. It's so nice in North Dakota. I'm like, yeah. You did notice that we're a red state? Did I ever? Oh God, that doesn't mean anything. But you can't.
But it's a hard political position to be in, right? So all the Californians move to Western Montana or to Austin, Texas, and then all of a sudden they because they hate the environment they're in, and then they start voting for the same stuff they voted for in California, and all of a sudden you're like, California wasn't really the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's funny. When I was younger, I used to ski all the time out in Bozeman, and they went out there and they hated California. And I just, before I was into politics, I was in my early 20s, I just wanted to go up there and rip it up and have some fun skiing. And I'm like, what's wrong with Californians? And it didn't take too many years after that I realized what they were complaining about out there in Bozeman.
Right? There's a reason Olympic shooters are leaving. It's because California has magazine rules that don't make you can't actually practice with the gun you're going to the U.S. Olympics in. So, what are we talking about?
And California they got an A rating from the Brady campaign for gun confiscation, right? But they still have the most mass shootings of any state. So a magazine capacity of 10 rounds. I mean, what? So like dumb stuff like that. So other than Vegas, the 2 biggest shootings in America were done with 10-round magazines, right? Virginia Tech and I shouldn't say the 2 biggest. One of the other big, Parkland, the 10-round magazines. The Democrats' fantasy is the 10-round magazine is going to stop everything. No, it's not.
That's why we fight so hard on, bump stocks, pistol braces.
Yeah.
Like all of those things, because it is wildly problematic for everybody who loves to own guns of any kind. And it's also like, once you allow those things to happen, the next thing is, we spend way too much time in Congress saying, hey, this is good policy, but we're worried about unintended consequences. How about you pass the good policy and then deal with it? And you have to factor it in. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, we've been in this. I've been in it my entire adult life to some degree or another. You can't allow that. And by the way, nobody's using pistol braces were designed for wounded veterans.
I don't even know that it's happened in any one crime, right? In Ohio, that guy did that. I think he did it one time. and that was it. And then they went ape crap over it. And
but nobody's ever explained to me. Nobody's ever explained to me how that crime would have been any different with a regular stock rifle versus a pistol brace rifle.
Yeah. So
you have to say it's uniquely dangerous, and it's not. This is the same thing with suppressors. You have to show me why it's uniquely dangerous, why you need to regulate it more, and nobody can do that. They just do it as a matter of course. And with the pistol brace thing, that's a whole different thing because they retroactively applied it.
So I'm curious.
You bought a gun legally, and if you didn't go get your papers from the federal government, you became a federal felon.
Let me see your papers.
Even if you disagree with the ATF, which I do, at least if the law would have been prospective, then you can have a real, like one of the major pro-gun versus anti-gun fights we have out here. But they made it retroactive, which is should be appalling to anybody who actually believes in the fairness of our constitutional republic.
Right. And it is a republic. That's one of the things that drives me nuts in D.C. is when everybody says it's a democracy. Anyway, I'm not going to go down.
But it is both, by the way.
Yeah, right. It's a democratic process to elect people. But when they say America's a democracy. Anyway, I'm curious. So what happens like when you explain, like you just did to me, when you talk to your Democrat colleagues in the House when gun control's up? I mean, that makes perfect common sense to me. What do they say to you when you say that to them? And they're like, no, I'm not.
The reason you don't hunt deer with a 223 is because you blow the deer up. That's what they say to you. One of the things I always tell seniors in high school when they come out to see us, it's close up, and I say, never apologize where you're from. Because you learn a lot of things in North Dakota that somebody in an inner city will never learn. I just use this as the way I always say it. I can take a kid from Mott, North Dakota, give him $2,000 and drop him off in D.C., and he'd figure out where to live. He'd figure out how to eat. He might love it. He might hate it. But I could come back in a month and pick him up. If I took a kid from downtown D.C. and dropped him off at the gas station in Mott, I come back a month later and he'll still be standing at the gas station in Mott. Don't ever apologize about knowing how to change the oil in your car, helping your neighbor combine because he got hurt, going to the spaghetti feed because one of your baseball parents has cancer. Those are the things we do here that are just uniquely different than anything that goes on out here. I mean, if you want to be an anonymous, move to a big city, but that permeates into the gun conversation because people just don't understand how we work, live, and play, and they have no interest in finding out why. Like, my wife doesn't understand why I want to get up at 4 a.m. when it's 25 degrees wind and go sit in a goose blind and shoot geese. She doesn't get it. I think my answer to that is nobody's ever died on their deathbed has never said, man, I wish I would have hunted less.
That's awesome, man. I like that. That's actually a good shirt. So quick story. My buddy, we had the big winter there a couple years ago. He had a muley buck tag. We got up one morning out at our ranch. We were heading out to the hunting shack, whatever. There was 2 feet of snow on the ground. Dad plowed the road with his loader, but we were going out and I videoed him. It was like 10 or 12 below, just white everywhere. And that's what I said. I'm like, hey man, women don't understand why we do this stuff, do they? And he was just freezing. He looks over. He's like, I forgot my cell phone. So we had to go back and get a cell phone. Oh yeah. So I want to hit on, we had a couple votes right here, not HR 615, right? To protect access for hunters and anglers act.
I have no idea.
I think that was last week. I thought it sounded like Clay was trying to beep in on me here. Yeah. So right. Cause Biden administration wanted to ban, or they were using the 3-letter agencies to ban.
That's the conservation. I mean, I didn't read their names. They want it. I mean, by the way, it's for grazing too and agriculture, and it's to turn all land like walking access only at the very least, no multi-use. And, so we have Bruce Westerman, who's probably the best duck caller in Congress, is the head of our Natural Resources Committee. And we've done a really good job of actually dealing with those things. So,
I mean, you guys voted. I mean, so it's going. You voted that down, right? And 764 Trust the Science Act, which I think Representative Boebert introduced from Colorado. That was to delist wolves, right? I mean, I don't know any hunters.
That's next. I think either that's this week or next week. That's a huge. I mean, and even though we don't have wolves in North Dakota, you have to care about this stuff because the Endangered Species Act is one of those pieces of regulatory regime that they absolutely use to stop farming, ranching, oil production, access to federal lands for hunting mule deer in western North Dakota. Like whatever they can utilize to do that, they will absolutely try and do. So and the gray wolf should be delisted. And ask any rancher that's got a lot of them around.
So is it true? Like I'm hearing, like the Biden administration or the Department of Interior or whichever it is, I don't know which one they want. They actually want wolves and grizzly bears back in North Dakota because they claim it was like their native territory hundreds of years ago or something. I mean, are they literally trying to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think to some degree or another they would like to and continue to move that. I mean, but you don't have to go very far. I mean, you can look at BC and their grizzly problem. You can look at California and their black bear problem because California has banned dogs and they've banned baiting, and their black bears aren't much bigger than black labs anymore because they're overpopulated, and they're coming into areas and dealing with that. And I mean, we dealt with this right with the park, and everybody, I think now, I mean, we used to ranch out there. And everybody now likes the fact that by the way, by everybody, I mean Kelly Armstrong too, likes the fact that we have a thriving elk herd.
Yeah.
But if you used to run cows north of Medora when Blue Tongue came out and they quit shipping elk out of the park because we used to help like Yellowstone and all of those places with their genetics, and you bought a ranch north of Medora that had never had an elk on it before a day in its life, so you didn't have elk-proof hay yards, you only had 3-wire barbed wire, and the elk kept getting out of the park and onto your ranch, that was a real problem. I mean, it was supposed to be a federally managed population. And so that's how the depredation hunt started. That's how we started managing it. And now 30 years later, I think we're all great with it. But I can tell you, when you were ranching then, at the time, you weren't great with having 85 elk in your hay yard.
Right. And I hear that from Scott Bachmeyer quite a bit too, because he's right out there in the Badlands.
But we always forget what the history of that was. I'm glad we have elk. I'm glad we have more moose. I think we have to look at some of the moose stuff too. Give people more opportunities to do it and also protect the corn farmers up northwest of Minot.
That's awesome, man. And I know you got to get going here, Kelly. You did get an elk tag though, right? Real quick. I got that. And one more thing for you. I know you got to go.
My dad and my brother and I own a half section of land in the Badlands, which we don't get to near enough because of this job. So we've got that. I don't think the timing is great, but I think I've applied 5 years, and so I finally got it. But it'll be fun to do that. When we used to be out there, I said I ran the world's least lucrative elk guiding service because it was at that time for us it was the once in a lifetime. My dad could get it every year, but he could only transfer it to me once. So I shot my elk my sophomore year of college, and in between, people I hadn't talked to in 5 years, when they drew an elk tag, I'd get a phone call and they'd be like, "Hey, buddy," I'm like, "You got an elk tag, didn't you?" Because that was all the Talking Tins and all of those guys, and I mean that's just the ground, the dirt I grew up on. So
yeah,
best way to be a good hunter is to know the dirt you're hunting.
You're 100% right. I mean, that helps out a ton if you can do that. So Kelly, I know you got to go. Pre-show we talked about it. If you got time to answer this real quick, go for it. The Honoring Our Pact Act of 2022, which I had a comment when I posted you were coming on. Somebody said you were anti-veteran. And you said I'd gladly answer this. And if you're done with this, I mean, you got to get rolling, go for it.
No, yeah. So this is really easy. So the Senate passed a bipartisan PACT Act, and then it came over to the House. And instead of putting that bipartisan bill together, Speaker Pelosi put a Democrat wish list messaging bill on the floor and changed it. And so, I mean, obviously it's really difficult to vote against those things. But I think like 120 Republicans voted against that bill. And then
173.
Yeah. And then 2 months later, the bipartisan Senate bill actually got brought to the floor. And that's the one that ended up passing and became law, which is the same bill, essentially the same bill the Senate originally passed. So we were always going to support the bipartisan PACT Act. What we weren't going to support is the bill that she stripped its parts out, put in more mandatory spending, actually couldn't implement the program. And our veterans groups were telling us this, and they were doing it as a messaging bill. Never ran through committee. She drove it straight to the floor, and we voted against it. And I'm glad we did, because it was a bad bill, and the bill that passed was a good bill that had bipartisan buy-in and the support of the veterans groups. So I get that, and people get mad, and you, especially when it has a name, and you're talking about burn pit victims in the military and military veterans. So the first bill, yes, we voted no on, and I'd vote no on it again tomorrow. And the second bill that came through, that was the bipartisan bill that came through both committees and both Congresses, I voted yes on.
Awesome. I appreciate you explaining that. I knew it was something like that. I mean, I've seen Democrats pull that before, and I was 100% sure you're not anti-veteran, or for that matter, pretty much. I mean, even most of the Democrats, for that matter, aren't anti-veteran.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, one of the places where, I mean, in a really partisan Congress, like our House Armed Services Committee is still pretty We got a lot of veterans who've served on both sides of the aisle that actually. I mean, we're still not good enough at it. We got to get better at it. I mean, the bureaucracy in the VA is terrible. We got to work on veteran suicide. We got to figure out how to do all of these things. And we have to do them better. And it should be something we try and do better every single day. But it is the one area that, for the most part, we have the ability to work in a bipartisan way.
Yep. Appreciate that. Kelly, thanks for joining us. Todd, stick around. You and me are going to be on here for a little bit longer. We're going to talk about a few things. But Kelly, appreciate
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Let's do this more often. This is, I'm telling you, I don't always love interviews. Todd's been on sides where interviews.
And I'm telling you, man, I had a ton more stuff for you. Let's come on, talk some hunting and guns and whatever you want. When you're elected governor, you're more than welcome to come on here anytime you want and then talk about issues like this.
I made it just in time, Jamie.
Yeah, you did. I told Todd to hang on because you're coming on, but Kelly, you got to go. I know.
Kelly, thanks for doing this. Sorry I wasn't able to get on tonight.
I'm serious. This is a lot of fun, and
it was. Appreciate
obviously, I think you guys can tell this is one of my favorite subjects. So we'll try and make this much more regular.
I got to say this, Kelly. I've always said that you're one of the biggest supporters of the NRA. I knew that being the rep for so many years up there around Dickinson and working with Dan. Running those programs across the state. So thank you, because you have been one of our biggest allies in defending the Second Amendment.
Thanks, buddy. I just was telling them I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, no, I don't leave the place much anymore. I retired, and I kind of like it here.
Yeah, I'm excited to come home.
Hey, if you get here in time for 2A Day, it's May 25th. We'd love to have you.
Well, let me check my calendar, because I'm sure if my staff did what they're supposed to do, it's probably not great, but I'm still in charge at the end of the day.
So, anyway, thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kelly. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
You bet. Anytime. All right, Todd, how you doing, buddy? You're pretty quiet over there.
Well, I don't know if I have much to lend to the conversation, but I'm certainly enjoying being on with you guys, and I really appreciate the invite.
Real quick here, before I was going to say this when Kelly was on, so as long as we got a lot of people watching, I think Saturday on Beck, Kelly, it's going to be a governor's debate with Kelly, Tammy Miller. Who do you say? What was Peepcorn, right, Todd? Am I saying that right?
Pepcorn. Harold Pepcorn.
Fargo. And I was thinking about that.
Corn Pop. That's Corn Pop.
We were talking about
just think of it that way.
Corn Pop. Wrap the chains around your hand.
Yeah.
I think they're having a debate on Beck, and
at what time?
Like Dale Wetzel, and I think Todd, who's the guy who comes on with Daryl? Dustin Gaverlow. He's got he said if you got any questions for the debate, go ahead and ask that. So we had some questions on here that I didn't get to ask because we were kind of keeping it 2A and hunting and gun specific. But go on Dustin Gaverlow's Facebook page. He's got a thing in there. You want to ask questions? They're going to be on Beck doing it. So get on there. And I watched the first debate when they had it down Fargo there with Kelly and the rest of them. And he did. I think Kelly, honestly, I think he pretty much dominated that debate. So, and I'm not saying
it didn't take long for the Tammy Miller campaign, though, to come out with the press release saying that Tammy Miller won the debate. As soon as I saw the headline, Tammy Miller wins debate, I thought, who's this from? Sure enough.
I will say this about it, Todd. It's not that I disagreed with what Tammy was saying. I mean, because I didn't agree with a lot. But I mean, Kelly just carried himself far more as a leader up there and was far more cogent. And I mean, that's what I said. I think he dominated it. So, and if Tommy wants to come on our show, Tommy, you're more than welcome to come on.
And I've rolled out the red carpet here on KFYR. I mean, if
Kelly will be our nominee.
Even Trigvy's been on. I mean, the person who steps up to the mic is the person who's going to get the mic. And KFYR blankets North Dakota. Why on earth you'd want to run the other direction from KFYR, I don't get, especially if you are claiming to be a conservative.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not like you're going to say no, Todd. You just rolled it out again, right? Come on your show.
Yeah.
Heck,
I mean,
in the morning, Friday mornings, maybe you and Clay can do a little Second Amendment drill down on there.
There we go.
Are we? We must still be live, huh? I thought we.
Yeah, we are. Absolutely.
I didn't really want to let that out of the bag when I was talking about it. Oh well.
Yeah, you did now. Clay's laundry. Get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heaven forbid you get some business going there.
Yeah.
But I'll call the bluff on Tammy Miller. Hey, just join us on some Friday, and you can talk your Second Amendment when we have the guns and the 701 on. I mean,
perfect, Todd. That's perfect. Because I looked at TammyMiller.com, and all she said is she'll protect the Second Amendment. I want to know how. Get a little deeper in on it,
I mean, don't voters want to know? Yes, voters want to know. Why on earth would you run away from a platform where your voters are to talk to them?
The biggest hammer in the state, not Tiger, but KFYR is the biggest hammer.
Exactly. and I got to believe that if you're going to run away from the biggest platform, you're setting yourself up to fail. So,
Todd, you know what I always said? If I'm going to run for office, I would want to go out and prove to everybody what I'm saying is the right way to do things, right? Not run away from it. I'd run to it.
Exactly. Grab every microphone handed to you and make sure you talk and you talk to people. And is that what's happening there? No.
Yeah. And so one thing I want to get you guys' opinion on, and I know I sent this out to some people and I was getting some flack for it, which is fine. But so Kelly, I get a lot of people. Kelly's a rhino. Kelly Armstrong's he's a rhino. He's a rhino. 538.com. Kelly supported Trump's agenda. He voted with it 88.9% of the time. If a guy who votes with president and the people who love Trump will just totally ignore that and say Trump, no. How is if 88.9% of voting with Trump is a rhino, we're in deep shit. Because there's a lot of people that vote way less than that with Trump. And I guarantee these other people running, I'll bet you any money they wouldn't sniff voting.
I'll take a bad rhino over a bad leftist any day.
Yeah, because I'm going to take 88% of what I like versus zero. You think if Tracy Potter was in the House, you'd get 88% voting, which you'd get zero. Even though he claims he's in the middle of the road, he's not. You would get zero.
No. You got to make that claim, though, when you're on the mic. I mean, I get that.
I get it too, but that's why he pisses me off because it's full.
People could see through stuff like that, though. People know.
Yeah. So I mean, if any, but I'm just saying, I disagree with some things he did, and I guess I disagree with a lot of things Trump did too. But
I'll tell you what happened with Kelly. Not getting 100% on there, most likely. It probably had to do with some of the omnibus bills that he actually voted for because they contained things within them. That's why I wish I was listening. I was trying to tune in while I was on the other deal. So I was trying to listen to everything. And I wanted to actually chime in there, but I couldn't. I was busy. But and you know what? A lot that happens to all of them. But I'll take 97% or 93% or whatever it was. I'll take that any day.
88 still a B plus. When I went to school, 88 was a B plus. That was still a pretty decent grade.
I was talking about the NRA rating, but yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, 93%.
Still,
let's say it is 88. So what? That's still going to be.
Take that.
Why people? I get tired of the rhino thing because it's a lazy label to throw on when you disagree with somebody on like one or two things. Then all of a sudden, they're a rhino.
there are true rhinos out there, but yeah,
right,
I
agree.
Absolutely. But there's a difference, and people tend to get lazy when they throw that label on, thinking, well, I'll just call him a rhino, and then everybody will know he's bad and run the other direction. And I don't agree with that when it comes to Kelly.
I can tell you right now, Kelly will end up being the Republican candidate come November. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't think Miller has a chance, honestly. I do believe Kelly's going to be our Republican candidate, and then he's going to squash the Democrat running. So, whether people like it or not, that's a reality. I've been in politics a long time. I can tell you right now, I'd put good money on the fact that Kelly will be our governor come November.
Yeah,
I love the comment that just went up. Instead of Rhino, use trans Republican, and maybe that's
Josie. Yeah,
maybe that's the key there. There is a difference between Rhino and trans Republican, but I don't know. I think people throw titles around because they get lazy and can't articulate what they really are thinking.
I watched a lot of the hearings that Kelly sat in the judiciary committees. I'm telling you what, especially when Second Amendment, and I've told you this how many times, Jamie, I said, he's solid. I'm not worried about Kelly's Second Amendment credentials.
And the 93% was actually on Brave, not from the NRA. The NRA would probably give him 100%. So
I imagine he's probably got an AA plus with the NRA.
Yeah, he even says, like, how the heck is that 93%? I didn't vote against anything.
They won't endorse anybody till after the primary. The only time they have ever done that in the history that I can remember, recent especially, was when they endorsed Trump that first time he ran. That was unprecedented. Usually NRA sits out of the primary endorsements. That's their policy. So, and they went back to that. So I don't think they've done any kind of endorsements right now in the primaries. That's why Kelly's not endorsed by them right now.
I mean, I'm on, like I said, 88.9%. Clay, I mean, me and you maybe are right around there, right? So agreeing on stuff. So,
well, you and I disagree on stuff. We've done it on air.
I can't vote for either one of you clowns, but
we're not conservative enough for you, Todd.
I'm not. Heck, I've been called a rhino. I'm like, really?
Yeah, you're calling Clay a rhino,
well,
man.
Yeah, but they don't know me very well. But
again, that's people throwing the label around because they think they're so cool because they get this label to throw around, but they could never articulate why they're saying that. And in what context is Kelly not a conservative? Can you tell me that? I mean, guns aside, just pick anything. In what area is he not conservative?
And if you find one vote that you'll say that it did, well, I mean, like I said, then
let him come on and say why, and he'll probably tell you, well, yeah, because you threw this piece of crap in there, and of course I'm going to vote against that.
Right.
At the end, explaining the veterans thing, and that made a lot of sense. He's not against veterans. It's like what they do with Becker on he's against the wall or he's against farmers.
Yeah.
They take one little piece. They don't give it in context. And imagine, just like Kelly said, he voted.
I mean,
against
does anybody
bill,
really
and
believe
rightfully
those
so.
ads about Becker, though? I mean, does anybody really believe those?
I honestly, last time,
comical to me, really. But
I was in Elgin doing a deal, and you'll love this. We were up there to speak at their Ag Days, me and Daryl. So we were talking with people, and I was encouraging them to vote for Becker. That's when he was running against Hovind. And I had about 2 or 3 people adamant that they couldn't believe I was supporting Becker because he hates farmers. Don't you know that? And I go, but he doesn't. I said, I'm involved in ag. Just a little bit, I mean, And I said, trust me. I said, Becker's not against ag. He's not against farmers. He's not against ranchers. I said, what he's against is having the government be involved at the extent they're in. I said, but you didn't listen to the rest of that because they didn't play that in their ads. That was on Beck Communications when he said that.
They hear the 10-second soundbite, and that's what they run with. So we can only teach people in 10-second increments anymore.
Let me go back to
I got to throw this up here because you asked that question, Jamie, about so here.
Go for it.
Says, I'm concerned about the spending in corporate welfare. I know he's talking to Armstrong. I know who he pals around with. Also, Michelle Stryden has a Democrat voting record. So, I mean, there is that. And there's corporate welfare. Honestly, too much.
Hey, Reagan was a Democrat too once. Reagan was a Democrat once upon a time too. So, I mean, anybody can be reformed.
Todd, and I'm sure most of the people that listen to this know this. I was a registered Democrat when I turned 18.
Hey,
there you go.
Corporate welfare. I'm being honest. You get pissed. Trump freaking corporate welfare stuff, man. I mean,
it's all over. It's everywhere. Not that it's right, but it exists.
No, I'm not saying it's right. But if you're going to hit him on that and you're going to put a Trump sign in your yard, then I mean, to me that's a little hypocritical.
Hell, I got a Trump flag flying.
I mean, man, I'm taking a good, the good far outweighs if you're going to get 100, when you find somebody, I think Josie and I were texting yesterday, he said, the only politicians I really love are the ones that agree with me 100%. And I said, yeah, I hear you, brother. So we got a comment here. Go ahead, Todd.
Well, I was going to say that they did make me take down my Trump no more bullshit flag off my office wall. It's like it for the longest time, but rather than becoming an HR nightmare in the corporation I work for, I figured.
Look at Todd getting loose, throwing out the bullshit in on the radio. See, we're on the live stream, baby. You're good.
You know what I noticed is he's got a marble game.
It's on yours. If it's on my live stream, I can't do it. But.
Something I noticed, Todd, you've got a marble game on your wall up there. Aggravation game. That's awesome. We play that a lot in our family.
Did you see what's right in the middle of that? I don't know if you can see in your shot, but KFYR. The logo.
There now.
There you go. Zoom in on him, Clayton. Blow him up.
That's about as big as I can get with him.
So, hey, is 701
called me and said, "Hey, I got something for you." And and every once in a while, people will come up with this kind of thing, and it's like, my gosh, why would I not want that in the shot here? So I'm keeping that in the shot. I do have the game pieces though.
Yes,
just
there you go.
In case I get bored while Jesse's reading news or something, I can.
Jesse,
I'm just kidding.
So I'm going to go back to a one shot. Cap said, "Ask Kelly what he thinks of Governor Noem for shooting a ranch dog." Cap, I'm going to tell you, I didn't ask him that on purpose because that's a lose. What's the old thing there? Ask them when they stop beating their wife kind of question. That's a lose. That didn't work out well for Kristi Noem, and I'm not. If Michelle Miller comes on, I'm not going to ask her.
Is there anything new that can be said about that hasn't been said in the last 2 days?
And I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't know the details. I think it was a stupid move to put it in the book, but more likely, she dictated her life story to someone, and they put it in there. She probably didn't even really know what was in there. Honestly, I know how that works.
See, Clay, that part didn't even get me, but now that it came out, she kind of said that about Little Rocket Man. That was probably a stupid ass move right there.
I missed that. I've been kind of busy. So what?
Well, she said
what happened?
She said she's seen him and had to stare. They seen eyes across the border, and the book said had to stare down, and then she said she never met him, and I'm like, okay, well, now they're just done with the dog, and they're on with that. And
well, I'm not going to talk about what I talked about in some private conversation with foreign leadership and blah blah blah. I'm like,
right.
So do you work for them or us? Which is it?
And
that was
the thing is if you put out a book, you probably better be able to defend what's in it, and you probably should have read it, and you probably should know what's in it. I'm just saying.
Bad move on her part.
I guess she struck me as control freak enough that she would have read every page of it. So how this happened, I don't know. Or maybe South Dakota, just no offense, Clay. Maybe South Dakota.
He's a 701 guy now.
Yeah. I switched teams, man.
We heard
that.
I'll
tell you this. I worked not that team. But I did, meet her when she was in the legislature in South Dakota, and then of course when she ran for the House of Representatives. Again, Second Amendment issues mostly because that's what I did, right?
Right.
Kristi was interesting. I wouldn't say we're friends or anything. And how many times, Jamie, have I told you she's not who she portrays herself to be, right? That being said, she's still better than probably 80% of the governors in this country.
But
harkening back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, I'll take a bad rhino over a bad, squad member.
And I would regular squad member.
Yeah, hey, I wouldn't call her a rhino necessarily.
Are there any good squad members? No.
Not.
And hey, I've shot dogs, so I guess everybody better get pissed at me because they were.
But you also know that's one of those things that you can't go on a TV campaign to California or whatever and expect to win votes with that. You have to know cause and effect before you put that out there and realize, okay, wait a minute, that's a hill we'd get shot on. So,
should have, right?
They did there.
I thought that right when I seen it, and then I saw people going ape shit, and I'm like, I'm not sure why you should do. I get it. I told you the story earlier. We were talking, Todd. My grandma, lifelong Democrat, dogs would get in her chicken coop. She'd kill them and blast them.
Well, sure. I mean, that's a part of that life. But fact of the matter is,
I don't know it.
The vast majority of voters are going to be your urban, concrete jungle kind of people. And how are they going to react? You've got to know that ahead of time and realize, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it's fine if you're, to use a Kelly Armstrongism, if you're trying to get votes in Mott, you can probably get away with that. But, if you're trying to, I just quoted a new term today, Kelly Armstrong.
Kelly Armstrongism.
I hope he's happy with that one. But if you're trying to win votes in, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, for example, to name but just a few, you can't expect to actually have a positive effect for you.
No,
right.
Yeah.
So Brian, I'm going to put that comment up. We don't know what Clay is 1306 means. We need to.
I'm out of the loop of all that modern stuff.
Yeah. So am I. I'm out of that one too.
Maybe
Todd
knows.
The other one Clay probably doesn't know is what my actual college major was that Kelsey had put out there earlier in the show.
I do not.
I thought it was English.
That was a priceless moment. Todd majored in Two-Spirit African Lesbian Studies. It was, in my defense, it wasn't what I thought it was when I read it in the brochure. Okay, I thought that's what I was going to be studying, not that I was going to become one. So it wasn't what they advertised. So in my defense, false advertising on the part of the University of Wisconsin Stout back then.
Brian
left that school after the first year.
So Brian's math skills definitely buried a 605 plus 701 equals 1306.
Yep, there you go.
Brian, maybe
Guns
I'm
right. Is going to go over too many heads to use.
Guns so. 1306. Right. I like that. Todd, that's actually not bad.
It's clever, actually. Now that I get that, it's like all right.
We got, Deacons is on there, but then we got to add down Georgia. Or what's Georgia's?
I don't know what Georgia's is. They probably got a couple of them down there. Probably one for Atlanta and then one for the rest of the state and area code. I don't even know.
So you guys, we're talking governors. Is Mike Coachman still in the race here as an independent?
Last I knew he was, but I couldn't
technically
tell you
is.
Technically,
technically is, but and I like the guy enough. I mean, when Trent Lewis was in Minoka, I sat with he and his wife.
I met him there,
seemed like wonderful people, but is it going to move the needle far enough? Something's going to have to happen for that to happen.
Like Clay said, realistically, I mean, Kelly's, if he doesn't dominate this, I'm going to be shocked.
So, hey, guys, here's one for you, Brian. 229-404-478-678-706-762-770 and 912. There, figure that one out for Georgia.
I got 762 out of there, so that's 308. I got that going.
I did it fast.
You just gave me a headache.
Brian said he only has so many toes. Don't add too many numbers.
Yep, 10 and 10.
JD, you were kind of worried about whether I was going to be all that talkative or not, but the thing is with you and Kelly and Guns, you guys are like so far past me. I was just
I got you, Todd. I know. I was just.
I know. I was just being a good student.
Hey, man, I'm glad you joined us, Todd. It was freaking awesome. We got to have you on again.
I appreciate the invite. Here's the story I didn't want to tell at the top because I thought Kelly doesn't need to be dragged through this story. But when I was a kid, growing up in Minneapolis, deer gun opener, even in inner city Minneapolis, most of the kids were gone. And I never understood why we didn't hunt growing up. I didn't miss it because you can't miss what you don't even know it exists in the first place, right? Well, I found out later that it had to do with an incident with my father and what his father did, drunk as he tended to be for just about his whole life. Shot at him, thankfully missed, but
so, thankfully
there was a really bad incident, and the reason that came up was when my dad first went to hunt, because my dad hunted as a kid. What are the area codes in Georgia? Really, we're going to put that up?
That's my cousin. That's my cousin David.
Geography today.
He didn't have enough of them listed in the
humidity.
chat.
I moved to Atlanta. I don't want to be in heat and humidity. I'm just kidding. my dad went hunting with my other grandfather, my mom's father, and was thinking, this is great. I finally get to go hunting, and I'm not hunting with somebody who's, a drunken fool and whatever. But the first time he heard a shot behind him, nope, that was it. Never hunted again.
Damn.
That was it.
Damn. Well, I guess you can't blame me. You get shot at once, maybe.
That was the story. So that's why we never hunted. And it's like, okay, and I didn't even find that out until I was in my 20s. So,
well, you kind of thought, you made me think of something, Todd. Next time we come on, Kelly's on, or if he comes on with you guys in the morning there.
Yeah.
I say, hey, if you're governor, how about you just make deer opener a freaking holiday for kids in school? Let's just knock Friday off, man.
Well, I would think he'd want to run that on as a campaign thing, because that would get votes right there.
Well, we might have got to it, but we were having so much fun talking about everything else. Like I said,
hey, I'll give Kelly this. I knew he had knowledge of guns, but he has a lot of knowledge of guns, and I'm glad to see that. That's a real guy.
We didn't even get into his bow hunting. I mean, the guy's he's heavy into all that.
And so it's not just the TV commercial thing. He actually bow hunts.
No, that was viewed a lot, though, I noticed.
I'll put it to you this way, too. You know how we had Alex on, right, Jamie? And by the way, we've invited everybody. Anybody can come on here. We definitely I've talked with Andrea. We're going to try to get Rick on here now. But I can tell you right now, I think it's Kelly's to lose in the governor's race. I really do. I don't think it's anybody else's but his to lose. And I think it is Rick's to lose in the House race. And I'm telling everybody right now, not to piss him off, Alex is a genuine guy when he goes around and visits door to door and drives around.
Yep,
and Rick is going to have to get out there and really wear some shoe leather off and get behind that wheel, because I can right now, and I don't care what political office you're running for, that personal on the door, talking to somebody, especially if you're a personable guy, it's going to win every time. So I think that it's Rick's to lose. I've supported Rick. I've got my Rick Becker sign up. I've always supported Rick, and we want to have him on here. But I'm telling everybody right now, guys, we got to get Rick out there.
I just want Rick to come back on. I want Rick to come back on and do the election coverage with me on KFYR, because one time he brought practically a whole bar with him, and it was fantastic.
Damn, if he does that, invite me over there then.
But
here's what? I just see it right now, Todd. We'll all come up there in studio. I'll drive up there that night. We can have a good time.
The red carpet's out. Let's do it.
So
there we go.
The other question about Becker, though, there we go. Leon says 100%.
Let me hit this quick, Todd, and I'll let you get your Leon, because Leon is he's a Balaz backer, and Leon, I'm on board with you. I'm on Alex's wagon, man. I'm 100% in on him. The guy's awesome.
I can tell you right now, Alex is a formidable candidate and challenger. He really is.
He doesn't have the coins, man.
He does not. And I got nothing wrong with Alex, but I'm gonna go with the guy that has the proven record. That's just me. I'm gonna go with the guarantee, and I know exactly what Rick's record is. So when I'm weighing the two candidates, I'm going with the guy that I absolutely know how he's going to vote. Now, that being said, I don't think we need to burn this guy down to the ground. And I know there's a lot of people that like to burn Alex down. You know what? Don't go, hating me because I'm saying that the guy is a good, solid guy, because I really do think he is. If he's a liar, he's the best liar I've ever met.
He's a damn good one.
And I'm pretty good judge of character.
Come on, Clay, you met me.
Yeah. I mean, when I was running stuff and having to weigh who I took as volunteers and who I wouldn't and who I got rid of for 10 years in 2 states running 400 to 500 people, trust me, I got to be a pretty good judge of character by questioning. And I don't feel it with that. I don't feel it that Alex is lying. I think he's a genuine guy. He doesn't probably have the knowledge of the political arena, which is understandable. He's never been in it.
Not in a bad thing.
No. So I think it's.
I'm going to throw this comment up, Clay, right here. It says, no, not this one right here. It says, if anyone has Alex at a town hall, have him talk first. He's a chameleon. I was in Linton and Wilton Sunday. He played off everyone else. Well, to that, I would say you can watch him when Clay and I had him on for an hour and a half. He was the only guy on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's answered questions more straight up than he did.
And I asked him straight out questions. I mean,
yeah, he
answered them. And like I said, we kept it Second Amendment based for the most part. We truly did. And I told everybody we're going to do that. I didn't go asking all these other things. Hey, should we take Deacons' call here?
Yeah, let's see what Deacons does. Yeah.
Well, hey, Mike, you're on the air.
Hey, bud.
What's up?
So I got to tell you about that gun thing. So,
I don't even think he knows he's on.
Messaged me on Facebook because I commented on an NRA gun, Masonic.
Hey, does he even know he's on?
I don't know. Do you know you're live on air right now?
Oh, am I?
Yeah. So welcome.
Hey, Deacon, thanks for listening, buddy.
You got to work, huh?
Well, no, I just
I
had it
Clay,
up to my microphone.
I'm gonna throw this question up here and read it here. Hold on here. So, hold on. Brian says, I'd like to see him personally instead of on air and ask him his opinion of the North Dakota Game and Fish. Would never trap someone on air with that backdoor question, but that answer would be interesting. Brian, I can tell you, I've talked to Alex off air twice. The guy is just as straight up in person as he is. I mean, give him a call. I guarantee you the guy will take your call. I can forward you his number, or if you want to see the guy is, hey, it's the guy's straight up, man. Todd, you talked to him. I mean, did you think he hesitated at all when he was on with you?
No,
and
no, I thought he was much better than I expected him to be, because like you guys say, not necessarily been one of those guys with a lot of experience in the political arena, but you can tell within the first few minutes whether somebody's going to be able to handle it or not. He handled himself just fine.
Yeah.
So the one question I have, and I don't think any of the three of us can really answer this. Leon probably could, though. How does he play out east? How do either one of them? And I know that one of Rick Becker's weaknesses has been that he hasn't been as known in the East as he's been in the West. You got to get that. And granted, okay, it's a little on the other side of the fence over there in Cass County and Fargo and stuff. I get it. But let's face it, there's a ton of votes, a ton of good conservative votes out there. Yeah. Are you getting on the radar out there? Because if you're only known in the West, but they don't know who you are, you're not going to win the state because they got more votes out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
better for worse.
I've always said just running harder, more conservative doesn't get you a big win in North Dakota, because, and Clay and I have said this before, North Dakota is not as red as a lot of people think it is.
No.
Okay, so Brian says he was talking Armstrong. Brian and I have sat down and drank beers before and BS'd on the phone and met each other. I talked to Kelly face to face. I mean, the guy's, he's exactly how you talk to him right here. I mean, we had some beers together. The guy is just like you were talking to him right here. Just like when you talked to Alex and Clay and I had him on, that's exactly how the guy was when I met him face to face. If somebody's a phony, I mean, you can sniff them out pretty quick.
So I'll tell you one thing about Kelly, and I think I told you this, Jamie. That's why I wasn't surprised that he would come on, and he knows who I am.
No, he said right away. I heard Guns in the 7. I'd love to come on.
And he was, I knew him through the NRA banquets. Dan Brown is the guy who probably had the biggest contact with him. And I can tell you right now, Kelly will sit down and talk to you. He'd even attend the banquets before he got very, very involved and busy. He wasn't around then. A lot of times he was gone, on the road, whatever. But when he was just in the legislature, he had a heck of a lot more time to actually attend that banquet. There's people walk up to him all the time and talk to him, and he was more than happy to take questions. Now get this, he was there as a sponsor on his own time, trying to enjoy an evening, but he never told anybody no. He still talked to him.
Yeah,
he didn't have to.
Nice,
but he did.
I mean, that says something. I'm not trying to blow smoke up his rim, but if you're a guy like that, that's who you got to be. If you're gonna be talk to people and not blow them off, that's the way you got to be. That's awesome, man.
My question is the opponent the same way? And I would say I doubt it.
Yeah, I would doubt that highly. I know Burgum wasn't. Burgum, we tried several times to visit with him on different issues when I was involved with other things. And that guy, unless he was coming and the cameras are there, or there was some kind of a PR thing for him to benefit from, he could have given a shit less.
Well, I'll tell you what, tomorrow I'm gonna call or I'm gonna email Tammy Miller's campaign and see if they want to come on with us.
Do it. Let's get her on.
I don't care. Like I said,
if you're going to put in your TV commercials that, you once, stayed up with the gun and blah, 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 then you better go on Guns in the 701. I'm just saying it.
Okay. So I got to put this up there because I've seen this question many times from Matt. or from other people. Says, I question why Alex chose the one race where we have a solid conservative contender. He won't take votes from Julie. That's true, Matt. I can't tell. You know what? I guess that's something we maybe need to ask him. But I think that had more to do. My personal opinion on that is because he was involved with the feds. He admitted that. He worked for the feds. I mean, that's who he worked for. CIA, he worked for a lot of different departments.
Wait, I thought he was an FBI plant.
Yeah, well, I think he worked for them too. But his career was doing things within the federal government. So, when he answered the question why he was running, maybe that was partially the answer. He said because he saw what was going on out there and he couldn't stand it. That's kind of why he claimed, he said that he retired. So maybe that's why he chose the House of Representatives. I don't know. I don't know that answer, Matthew.
Is there a Senate race even up this year?
A Senate? I don't know. Hoven's not up for what, 2 years yet?
So what else is he going to run for?
Yeah, well, he could have run for governor. But again, I imagine he sat there and weighed his option. We had an open seat because the incumbent was not running in the U.S. House of Representatives. And I'm telling you, people don't think that makes a difference. If you're going up against an incumbent.
Okay, Kramer's running, I guess. I didn't even know Kramer was up.
But incumbents are hard to beat. 9 times out of 10, you will be defeated your first run against an incumbent. That's just the reality of the stats.
Sometimes you get into those races, though, not to win this race, but to win the next or the next or the next. Do you think we've heard the last of the Vivek Ramaswamis of the world? I doubt it. I doubt it. But you got to get in the ring now so that later on, when you're in the ring again, people know, oh, I remember him. He said some good stuff. Not singling him out or whoever, but.
I'm going to go back to Matt. He says, same with the governor. That's true. We got an open governor race. But again, I go back to, I imagine a lot of this had to do with his involvement working with the feds. He probably can navigate. He knows his way around D.C., probably knows the bad people and the good people. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you why he ran and why he chose the.
Well, I'm going to read what's below the surface here. They're saying that they think I'm probably pissed these guys off, but Rick, it's always a conspiracy against Rick, and that's what they're saying. Like, he's just trying to submarine Rick because they don't like Rick. That's what they're saying. Kramer's unopposed. Yeah, what's he going to do? You don't have a freaking chance against Kramer. You run in the House. I mean, you got to. There's so many more people running. Who's running against Kramer? Right. Kevin Kramer's going to kill you. But I mean, that's what Matt and Josie are saying. They're saying you're trying to submarine Rick because I have friends who said that they screwed him over at the convention. I'm like, well, he knew the rules, man. He screwed himself over by he knew the rules how many years ago. And if Rick's the nominee, his sign's going to be in my freaking yard. But the guy knew the rules, man. It's not a goddamn conspiracy.
And you can't change what happened, so it's time to move forward and do it correctly.
Exactly, Todd. You're exactly right, Todd.
Don't vote for me, though.
I myself did not go to the convention, and that had more to do with I was not going to comply or submit to their safety protocols. No. In our platform, we have a strong stance on the Second Amendment of the NDGOP platform. We choose one of the most anti-gun cities and in an anti-gun facility. Kiss my butt. I'm not going to that. That should have said enough right there.
Amen. Like you can say ass.
I can say that here. Time to turn over that new leaf.
KMA.
He's trying. He's trying.
It might be shaped like this. I don't know.
Hey, give her one of these like Trump. KMA and then give her the exclamation point.
Matt Simons, I'm working on a bill to remedy that. So I'm going to tell you guys a little something about this because I've been told I'm wrong, and of course I'm not. Oh, and I work for the NRA.
I like that last part you got in there.
We got involved with the public gathering problem of carrying, especially with alcohol in a room. Okay, there is a law on Century Code that if you're carrying, you're not supposed to be drinking alcohol. We know that. That's still law. I think it's stupid. I think it should say intoxicated to the legal limit. That's what it should say. But we're not going to go down that road. Public gathering, though, is by definition public, not public invited. Public. The NDGOP is same as our NRA events. You had to purchase your way in. You had to buy a ticket to go to the banquet. You had to purchase, not just purchase your way to get in, $100 and some. You also had to be a member of your district and the state. So you have a couple $100 wrapped up into this thing. It's not a public gathering. It's a public advertised one, and anybody can join the party, but it's a private organization, just like the NRA was, We had to get the lawyers involved at NRA's level to go after that son of a bitch Stenjum, who's claimed he was Second Amendment and never was. And we took the screws to him and we won that battle. No one hears about that. And that's your NRA. People say NRA don't fight for you. Right there they did, just so we could carry at our banquets.
And so the NDGOP would rather take the side of, well, no, we don't really want to have guns there. That's what the NDGOP stands for. I got to believe that's not
honestly, Todd. I think
they don't want to fight. Okay, and right now we need wartime people in there.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
But did it just go right over their head, Clay? And they're just not like big gun people, really. And they just
I think that's part of it. They don't have that passion that
Trump
we do.
got elected and Trump wasn't a big gun guy and everybody's pissed off.
Not a hill they want to die on. Pardon any pun. That
that's kind of what it was. And I think it is if you don't stand for the Second Amendment, an actual right, one of the first 10 and one of the 27 additional in the full amount of the amendments, are you kidding me? If you're not willing to die on that hill, then why are you willing to fight for me at any level?
I agree with you. I'm just saying, Clay, I know big Republicans, almost, I would even say conservatives, if they don't own freaking guns, it's just not. I got relatives, like, they own guns, but it's just not, you bring it up and they're like, yeah, I got you, but it's just not like their top priority.
So there's over 100 million gun owners in the United States, estimated. We don't really know because some people are like, do you have guns? Why don't you get out of my face? I mean, they're not going to tell you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, not everybody admits that. Yeah.
So we base that on sales, and we get that sales information from the 4473s. We have no clue prior to 1968, and then when the Knicks came in, we have no clue who even purchased guns at that point. So estimates are 100. Some people say 200 million. Who knows? But out of them, maybe 2%. And I might even be given a lot of leniency there, are passionate about why we have them in the Second Amendment. The rest, just like Jamie's talking about, they just own them to go hunting or just have one. They don't live it.
I mean,
they don't want to lose their Second Amendment rights, do they?
They don't, but they're not going to fight for it.
Protected. I don't own any guns, but I want the Second Amendment to be protected.
Yep. I mean, Todd, you're a rarity. I appreciate that.
Yes. I mean, I want one of you guys in front of me so I don't get shot. But now I find out you guys are trying to run faster than me, so the bear gets me. So
I love that.
Friends are now.
Shit, Todd, we get you out the Second Amendment Day. You'll be like, put me in back. I'll smoke this bastard if he chases us.
Hey, check this out. Brian Warner, he says, thought I was wrong too once, but I was mistaken. I used to literally, when I was in high school, I had a sign in my locker that hung in there that said that those that always think they're right are really annoying to those of us who are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What did Josie say here? Let's see. Josie's got, it's not about the rules. It's about the rule that was implemented. 8 unelected district chairs decided voting for that rule. It's not about Rick Giuliani. Oh, okay. He's talking about what happened. And I know that, Josie, that happened in December at under Perry Schaefer, and that was on purpose. I think it was actually targeted more probably at Tuttle, but I'm sure that they didn't like the fact what Rick had done either. And you're right. That's exactly what it did. Just because you seek the endorsement, you didn't get it, and then you run as an independent. Now for 6 years, you can't be part of the GOP process and get, is it 4? Okay. And get the endorsement. Of course, I come from a different structure. I grew up and I lived in South Dakota.
Well, you can't run as a Republican even.
You can run as a Republican. They can't stop you from doing that.
Is it? Oh, I thought they said you can't. That's why you ran as an independent now.
Well, no, there was already, it was past the deadlines.
You went as independent last time and you wanted, okay, I got you.
Yep. In South Dakota, there is no endorsement. They have a state convention, which I used to attend. You'd go to your counties are your districts pretty much. They don't waver much out of your county lines. You have a set number down there for your Senate. Your House is by population. At least that's how it used to be. And then you go to your state convention. You go rah, 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 and rally the troops and get your base excited. Then you go to the primary. There is none of this endorsement stuff. You have to run in the primary. You have to get out there, get signatures, and have a campaign. That is the only way to get elected. Not this, you don't get the endorsement and automatically get on the ballot. So is it a flawed system? Yes. I don't like it myself. I think there should be voter registration in this state, which I know that's like pulling teeth and trying to tell everyone that they got to give up their firstborn.
You going to go on KFYR and say this on Friday morning?
Yeah. Sure. I've said it to many people, and I take a lot of flack for it, Todd. I keep telling them, what is the biggest base you have? Well, it's your membership of your organization, right? I can't stress this enough to people that the Republican Party, whether it's in this state or South Dakota, is a non-profit private organization. Okay. So with that, if you have registration, you know exactly who your base is. They pay to do. Now we've got some of that by the dues, at our district and state levels, but we have no clue how many Republicans are actually out there because we don't have registration. Can you imagine if you had a registration list? Like I worked on Thune's campaign. We took that registration list from Pennington County because we knew we lost in Pennington County the 2 years before that. That really was kind of a hardship because it's West River. Huh?
Nothing. I just thought Todd would catch out. I said Chad Pennington.
I got it.
But anyway, we had a base to go and start with when we went out there running for Thune. Well, we don't have that here. We've got some names, but we do not have that registration list of people we absolutely know are supportive of the cause. And I think it's a disservice, honestly.
Let me come at you from a different direction to kind of help also make your point. If you remember back in the days of renting videos, you had to prove yourself more to walk out with somebody's VHS tape than you do to get a ballot now. And I see that as a problem. And I don't care what Mike Clay, you're okay.
He'll be back.
Well, all right, just you and me, Clay. Apparently his quarter ran out. He went on first, so if he ducked out, that means in 5 minutes mine's gonna quit.
Hopefully not.
No, I know. But 2020, and I don't know if there's anything new that can be said about the votes are real, the votes were not, whatever. But why would you not want to be able to prove that, no, here's this vote, that vote, they're all real. They're actually attached to real people. So we don't have a Philly or Chicago kind of thing where you get the stories of dead people voting.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I put this up here.
I'm back.
Josie made this.
You have to go to the bathroom or something. Just tell us you got to go and then come back. Disappear. We think your computer crashed.
I'm going to address both Josie and Matthew because they obviously disagree with me, and that's fine. Democrat crossover for the primary in North Dakota is like the open southern border. That's because you don't have registration. There's no wall. Okay? If you had registration in South Dakota, when you go to vote, you register as a Republican, you register as a Democrat, independent, whatever it might be. You don't get handed any other ballot. Okay? And you got to register 30 or even 60 days out. I don't remember. It's been so long down there. But I'm telling you right now, registration stops that. And it's been proven in South Dakota. And I know you guys probably aren't from there, and you probably don't know that system. But right now...
He ain't from around here.
Yeah. But darn South Dakota cowboy. Remember that? Yeah. We'll have to tell Todd about that.
You're always going to tell me a goddamn South Dakota cowboy.
Oh, Matthew says, I agree, Clay. I think we're agreeing with you. Okay, I misunderstood that. But if you guys, if we could get registration in the state of North Dakota, that will solve the primary issue of Democrats. I mean, I couldn't believe that the first time I voted in North Dakota. I was like, what? All the parties are on here? Who do I vote for?
Clay.
And they're like, oh, you got to vote for one party. So, okay, you got to do that. You got to go straight up and down. But I could say, you know what? I'm going to really try to screw the other party. I think I'll go vote in theirs. And there would be nothing to stop me from doing that.
Operation Chaos.
Operation Chaos.
So hold on, I don't want to cut you. We got like 5 minutes left, guys. I'd say let's do a little PR here before we this 1 hour deal. We did say about 1 hour. Even Kelly went longer than he said, but we went. It's actually freaking awesome, man. This is. Let's do a little PR here. So Clay, what do you guys got coming on tomorrow night here on Guns in the 701?
Oh, 701 stuff. Let me go pull that up because I don't know.
Well, you're pulling that up. I will say Friday, every Friday morning, 8:40 a.m., Central Standard Time, 7:40 a.m. Mountain Standard. Mitchell in the morning, Clay,
Yeah.
and usually Mikey D, right? Joining Todd,
Usually.
talking some good Second Amendment issues. I think you guys are working on that happy ending every Friday now too, right, Todd? I like that.
I'm trying to put one in there. We don't always get to it. But
Yeah, if you're wondering what that's all about, tune in Friday and find out.
Exactly.
So what do you got going tomorrow, Clayton?
So tomorrow we're looking at there's a story out there about the Canadian government and their aim to destroy the Browning high power pistols. That's right. And I read the article. So yeah, that'll be coming up. And then interesting, and I knew this was going on within the NRA. I'm glad that Mike found this. Mike put this one together. All 4 of the reform candidates won seats at the NRA board, on the NRA board. So that's great to hear at the annual meeting. Now, I can't tell
That's not the only NRA story you got, though.
No, it probably is not. It's we were talking about her earlier. Governor Noem has been put out there supposedly as a possibility to replace Wayne LaPierre as the executive vice.
No, she was gonna. Remember, she offered it up to Uncle Wayne, is what the article said.
Yeah, well, I did a little other digging on it.
And what I would have said is, if it was offered to her, she should have took it, because turns out her alternative didn't work so good.
Well, so I did a little digging because I knew who to call. She basically says that that's not going to happen. LaPierre's attorneys are not commenting. We'll see. It was an interesting story, but yeah, stay tuned in for that tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Governor, you're cooked. Your goose is cooked. It's over.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I don't know if we're going to do this one. I think we might, but it has to do with the Chinese illegal aliens coming across. They're using Mexican IDs to get in the U.S., and now there's footage out there showing these things being discarded. Well, guess what? It happened to be behind the gun store owner's building. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Imagine that, right?
Nice.
And in California, San Diego.
Oh, no way. Impossible.
Oh, gasoline in the fire, man.
Oh.
I know we were deciding whether we're going to save that for Friday or do that tomorrow, but there's you know what, Todd, there's so much stuff out there. We got plenty for Friday too.
So I'll tell you what, we're about 2 minutes left. Hey man, we got some awesome viewers are hanging in there with you. Appreciate everybody listening, whether you're lovers or haters. I hope everybody who watched tonight, if it's your first time watching, if you're coming back second, hey, follow us, like us. We're on every Wednesday night, Clayton. Guns in the 701s on 7 p.m. Are you guys going to go to 8? You going to summer hours or not? Real quick.
Not this week for sure. So we'll see.
Okay. Usually Guns in the 701, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain. And every other week it's 701 Nation with yours truly here. And
try to slip in a drinks with the 701 sometime.
yeah, drinks with the 701 is fun, man.
I want the invite.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, Todd.
I think we can have 10 or 15 people on.
Kevin Kramer, Senator Kramer is due to be on with me. We haven't confirmed that. And usually by now we do, or denied, depending on what the schedule is. I haven't heard, but he's due on about 8:15 with me tomorrow morning. So hopefully that'll
awesome.
Happen.
Love it.
He's been
appreciate
really good about that.
Hey, I appreciate you having him on there, Todd, because we don't get to hear him that much often. And thank you for doing that, because we got to hear
really
representative
stepping up to the mic, and you know what? You step up to the mic, you get the mic. You don't. And
right.
A couple of people I can think that you and I can both think of are going to, when they lose in the election, they're going to have to realize that, oh, Todd was right. And boy, that's a big
absolutely.
that one on the record.
Hey, I got to thank our Rumble watchers over there. They don't show up in our feed. And then I was checking out the website. We had people watching there. So conservatively, I figured we had between 50 and 60 people on the night. So
for sure. Great. Sure. And hey, guys, if you listen tonight and you want somebody else to hear it and they don't want to watch this, Clay's going to get this baby up on all the platforms after we're done for podcasts. But we recommend iHeart, because that's the best damn podcast platform there is. As a matter of fact, the number one podcast is Guns in the 701. Clayton, we're about 10 seconds. I'm checking out, guys.
All right. Thanks for being on, Todd, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you, Representative Armstrong.
And thanks to Kelly Armstrong. Guys,
Amen.
He's a solid Second Amendment supporter. We'll see you tomorrow night, guys, 6 o'clock p.m. Mountain and 7 o'clock Central. Take care, everybody.